All right, so we're going to just do a quick video on discounted loans. So a discounted loan is kind of different in the thought process. So if you look to the left of the screen here, we have just a few bullet points. So generally, discounted loans are used for more short-term loans. So we're not talking like a 30-year mortgage or anything crazy like that. We're talking like you need to borrow $800 to fix your car. You might use a discounted loan, that kind of thing. So the reason or the way discounted loans are different from a typical loan is that you kind of pay the interest up front. So the borrower, when you go to get a discounted loan, if you would go with a $4,000 loan, you don't actually receive $4,000. So the borrower receives less than the amount borrowed because they take that interest off the top. So whatever you're paying in interest, that's subtracted at first. You pay back the whole amount, but you only get a less amount. Let's show you here. All right, so two formulas that we might be using. The first one is on the top, nice and typed out. L equals P minus I, where L is the amount received by the borrower. P is the principal amount borrowed, right? So when you walk in and say, I would like a $4,000 loan, you don't actually walk out with $4,000. $4,000 would be the principal amount. The amount you walk out with would be L, the amount received, and then I would be simple interest. If you look one formula down, the one written out in my beautiful handwriting, we're talking about A equals L times the quantity 1 plus R sub E times T, where A is the same as P. That's the amount that you borrow when you go in. L, again, is the amount received, right, the amount you leave with. R sub E is the effective interest rate, because the interest rate they advertise is not the same as the actual interest rate. Again, we'll show you this. And then T is your time in years. So let's go ahead and throw this in. Let's look at an example. Stacy chooses a $4,000 discounted loan to help with bills and plans to pay it back in a year. The advertised interest rate is 6%. So part A is, how much did Stacy receive in this discounted loan? Well, think about it. Remember, the amount that she receives is the principal amount borrowed minus the simple interest. So the first thing we have to do here is calculate the simple interest. So hopefully you remember, simple interest is principal times rate times time in years. So $4,000 times the interest rate of 0.06 times the years in this case, which is 1. So Stacy's going to pay $240 in interest. Therefore, the amount she receives would be L. So the original, right? She wants to borrow $4,000. She's going to pay the $240 in interest up front, which means she's going to walk out the door with $3,760. So even though she's borrowing $4,000, she's only receiving $3,760. Okay, let's look at the next part, part B. What is the effective interest rate? So the advertised interest rate, right, is 6%. But what is the effective interest rate? So again, let's look at the formula for this. So that's A equals L times the quantity 1 plus R sub E times T. And let's fill in what we know. We know the principal amount is $4,000. We know she receives $3,760. We're trying to find R sub E, and we know that time is 1. Okay, so if we think this through, R sub E times 1 is just R sub E, because anything times 1 is just itself. So let's simplify that. And now I'm going to go ahead and distribute this piece. I think it'll make more sense if I talk about it this way. So if I distribute 3,760 times 1 is 3,760. Then if I distribute 3,760 to R sub E, I get 3,760 R sub E, right? R sub E is basically just a notation. It's a variable, right? You could just use R, but generally we use R as the annual interest rate. So because this is an effective, that's where the E comes from. Okay, so now let's go ahead and solve this equation. So I'm going to subtract 3,760 from both sides. So that means I have 240 equals 3,760 R sub E And if I divide, because I want to get the variable or the unknown by itself, I divide by the coefficient, which is 3,760. And when I get that, 240 divided by 3,760 is 0.0638, and it goes on, right? So this is R sub E. Now, if I want to go ahead and round that, let's just round it right. Let's just stop it right there. So if I change this to a percentage, remember to multiply or to turn it to a percent, we multiply by 100%. So this is roughly a 6.38% effective interest rate. So you can see it's slightly higher than the 6%, and that's typical on discounted loans. The advertised interest rate is going to be slightly less than the effective interest rate. And all of that comes into play because you're receiving less than you borrowed. All right, so I hope that helps a little bit with the math behind discounted loans.